Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jennifer Hoff. First this afternoon, authorities are investigating after a police officer was shot in St. Peter. That's about an hour south of Minneapolis. Police say the officer was shot last night and is now being treated in the hospital.
Occupants of number 23, you are under arrest. This is the St. Peter Police Department.
Our newsroom received this Ring camera footage from a neighbor in the area, and if you listen closely, you can hear St. Peter police trying to engage with somebody. According to that police department, an officer was shot about 8 o'clock on Bunker Lane, which you can see from the video. It's a very residential area with houses close together. About that same time, we also picked up scanner calls where you can hear several gunshots in the background as officers report that shots were in fact fired. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension has confirmed on X that they're investigating this as a use of force incident. What we're still working to confirm is exactly what led up to the shooting, the identity and condition of the suspect, and if anybody else was involved. Happening tonight, Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan and Congresswoman Angie Craig will be facing off in a live debate. The two leaders are both vying to be the DFL's candidate for Senator Tina Smith's seat. Now, the debate comes just weeks after the state's DFL endorsed Flanagan. But it was right before the convention that Craig decided to withdraw from the endorsement process entirely, saying that it, quote, doesn't reflect the full scope of the party that we are. Tonight's debate starts at 7 o'clock on Twin Cities PBS. Right now, the city of St. Paul is also dealing with a historic $26 million budget gap. Sammy Salina sat down with Mayor KARE to go through her priorities and what could be on the table for cuts.
St. Paul's mayor says she inherited a huge task.
There is a $26 million gap that we have to address. And, there are some tough decisions that are in front of us.
KARE is asking city departments to come up with proposals on potential cuts. She says 4% reductions across the board is reasonable.
Sometimes that does result in layoffs. Is that something that you're expecting, and how will you mitigate that?
So right now, I have no expectations of what is going to happen. What I have done is that I've asked for the recommendation from the departments, and what I will say is that everything is on the table right now.
KARE hopes those proposals will help the city assess their efficiency in each department.
How do you think taxes and levies are going to play into this?
Yeah, I mean, when I've asked the department to do a scenario of 4%, we're still going to have to increase the levy. And my hope is that residents understand and they believe in this long-term plan that we've put in place, is that the only way that I can try to keep property taxes down is that we have to grow our tax base.
KARE says she recognizes mounting pressures on property owners, but hopes there will be added neighborhood investment.
And so the only way we can also maybe have a lever to offset that is we bring in businesses that have jobs that pay well. Like if you miss any one of these levers, none of this stuff works out. And then there's consequences to it as well.
That was Sammy Salina reporting. And then across the river in Minneapolis, it's also dealing with its own budget shortfall for 2027. According to city data, that gap is between $28 million to $33 million. And city officials say that's because of increased costs for personnel and city services, along with flat or declining revenues. Lawmaker reaction coming in swiftly this afternoon to the president's deal with Iran. And not everybody is happy, and that includes members of his own party. It comes as Vice President Vance is also scrapping his plans to sign that deal in Switzerland. NBC's Bafta Yamin has the latest.
An initial agreement between the United States and Iran to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz is causing a different ripple effect in Washington. Some of the president's own party balking at one of the key points, the possible $300 billion rebuilding fund for Iran.
Which they'll use some of it to support things that we don't care for.
I wouldn't want to give Iran any money, so let's see what's in it and how it's structured and so forth.
Signed late Wednesday, the agreement starts the clock on a 60-day negotiating window focused on resolving key issues around the future of Iran's nuclear program, including Iran's commitment that it won't procure or develop nuclear weapons. More peace talks expected Friday, but now Vice President J.D. Vance scrapping plans to travel and meet with Iranian leaders in Switzerland. Meanwhile, Vance rebuffed reports that Iran got the better end of the agreement.
If they don't change their behavior, they don't get the benefit of the bargain.
Under the agreement, the U.S. would lift sanctions on Iran, plus unfreeze funds and assets linked to the country's regime. Some Democrats stayed critical, calling the agreement a historic failure.
This was not only a blunder and a mistake, but it's a costly one, and perhaps the biggest presidential failure that we've seen in 20 years.
Literally everything that President Trump said he was trying to accomplish with this war, he has failed to accomplish.
But world leaders attending the G7 summit mostly threw their support behind the agreement, hoping for some relief for the global economy. President Trump has suggested the deal might not hold once the text is finalized, and that if he was unhappy with how the terms were executed, he would resume the war. In Washington, Bofti Imam, NBC News.
There's also some controversy now heating up between formerly close political allies. The Italian foreign minister canceling his trip to the U.S. over President Trump's remarks about the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. In a social media post, Prime Minister Meloni said she was, quote, astonished by Trump's comment alleging that she had, quote, begged him to take a photo with her at a G7 summit. The Prime Minister said the comments were fabricated and said that she was shocked that Trump would behave this way towards allies. Meloni adding that, quote, I and Italy never beg. And more problems appear to be bubbling up at the recently renovated Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool in Washington, D.C. So earlier this month, workers drained it to repaint the flooring with a color that President Trump calls American blue. But soon after it was refilled, that blue turned to this green. Warm weather in the Capitol gave rise to a massive algae bloom, and crews have been cleaning it and say that they'll be vacuuming algae over the next few days, but there might even be more issues. Take a look at this that NBC News caught yesterday, showing what appears to be sections of the paint actually peeling away. The Department of Interior has not commented on the issue. Closer to home now, we're learning that two brothers have pleaded guilty to a violent cryptocurrency heist in Matamidi, up in the northern suburbs. 25-year-old Raymond Garcia and his 24-year-old brother Isaiah admitted to kidnapping a family at gunpoint last fall and then forcing a man to transfer $8 million in cryptocurrency. During the heist, one of the victims escaped and called for help. That then triggered a manhunt. The Garcias were later found and arrested in Texas. They now face up to 20 years in prison. We also now found out that it looks like former Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara is starting a consulting firm. On his LinkedIn page, he shared a new position as the principal consultant at O'Hara Leadership Group. KARE 11 is also learning that a business with the same name was also registered in New Jersey last week. The Post says the group gives advice on workforce challenges, reputational risks, and different emergencies. O'Hara resigned from MPD late last month after reports he interfered with an internal investigation into his actions. Right now, one metro school district is taking a wider look at technology in its classrooms. Minnetonka public school leaders are scaling back iPad use in elementary and middle schools. Some parents, though, say they want to see it go even further. Our Joe McCoy has more.
We have a slack line over here that they love to play on.
Paul Riedner and his wife have raised their kids to love the outdoors.
We spend a lot of time outside. All of our birthday parties are back here.
But now their 5th, 7th, and 9th graders who attend Minnetonka Public Schools are spending more time on their school-issued iPads.
It's building in this really concerning behaviors where they just can't put it down.
Paul is one of nearly 400 parents part of Screen Smart Tonka, a group that's pushing the school district to reset its technology policy with much less screen time involved.
And the safeguards are not effective. So kids are getting access to adult material.
On May 28th, dozens of parents from the group voiced their concerns at the district school board meeting.
I am not convinced he will be prepared to enter the working world when the time comes under this model.
I feel like technology literally has been out of control.
DeLon Crosby says his middle schooler constantly deals with iPad-related distractions in the classroom.
My son said to me hey, Dad, it's really hard to concentrate when the kid behind you is playing a video game without his headphones in, and then the person in front of you and the person to the left of you.
This week, the district sent a letter to parents sharing steps they will take this fall. For elementary schoolers, iPads will now only come home for specific educational purposes. The district says they will also implement more rigorous web and app filtering across all grade levels, and YouTube will not be available for elementary or middle schoolers. There will also be a parent portal for parents to monitor the devices at home.
At the middle school, they're on screens for 6 to 8 hours a day. Paper, pencil, and books are great learning technology.
Well, and Joe found out too that Wayzata Public Schools also implementing changes this upcoming school year. They will be limiting devices to essential learning apps only, enforcing more rigorous web filtering, and restricting after-school internet access for elementary and middle schoolers. Stay with us. We have more news and weather coming up after the break.